In this video, I'm going to go over all the commonalities between the winning products that we've promoted in our agency recently. So these are going to be products that we've either promoted for brands that we own or for our clients' brands. So what I'm going to do is just dive into the most sort of actionable steps. The reason why I'm sharing this is because if you have a brand where you've maybe got different products that you're looking to promote, or you're not sure where the kind of bottleneck is it the marketing messaging? Is it the ads? Is it the agency you're using? Is it the way you've set up the campaigns, or is it the product? Hopefully this can help you identify where the bottleneck might be, and also give you some steps to improve the product if that's an option for you, or if you are looking to promote a range of different products in your business and you're wondering which one is the correct one. This should also help with that process. Now, this is mostly data from hair care brands and skincare brands, so brands in sort of like health, beauty space. This is pretty much where I'm pulling this data from. I've excluded clients in other industries from this data just to make it a little bit more actionable. So all the products that we're promoting or that we promoted in this data set had an average order value of under £100. Okay, this is slightly more low ticket items. This is not your kind of £1,000 product, £1,500 product, even £800 product. This is stuff that's a little bit lower, and it's all kind of data from the health and beauty space. However, this would apply to other industries as well. So we do promote products in other industries. We promote higher ticket items, kind of mid-tier items as well. And this data would still be relevant to those industries. So I see the same commonalities in those products as well. I just wanted to make it as actionable as possible. So I wanted to kind of pare it down to everything where we were looking at products and brands that had a very similar type of customer persona and also price point, just to make the data as clean as possible. So let's dive into it. The first one is the product needs to solve a desire or a problem. Now, when the product solves a problem, and what I mean by this is there is like, maybe if you're a skincare brand, there's a skin condition that your product solves. If you're a hair care brand, again, maybe you're solving hair loss for men, something like that. That's an extremely strong kind of desire for men who are losing their hair. They're going to want to get it back. They're going to want to prevent that, slow it down. So there's a desire and a problem that your product is solving. It could also be a little bit less direct than that. So you could be solving a more kind of indirect problem. For example, there's a brand that's not one of our clients, but there's a great brand that I've seen advertised online. This one's called Tallow Ash. And this company sell essentially like detergents, things like that. And they've created this whole sort of like brand around, they want to make like washing fun again. So they've kind of like made it a lot more, everything from the packaging of the products through to like the scents, through to everything says our mission is to make washing something you look forward to. So it's essentially just kind of, it's solving a problem that you have. I mean, it's something that you're going to do anyway, but they've put their own spin on it. They've kind of created a mission around it. It's a lot more engaging than just simply selling detergent on Facebook ads. Okay, because again, that by itself would not be something that I would typically expect to win and be a profitable venture to kind of just sell, very standard laundry detergent on through Facebook advertising. But the way they've done it is they've brought fun to it, they've solved a problem, and they have kind of fulfilled that sort of desire in many, many ways. Another great example of a brand that is solving a desire and a problem, but it's a little bit less direct, some of the previous examples I gave, is this company, Tailored Athlete. Again, not one of our clients, but a great brand I've seen advertised online. And you can see that the way that this company is advertising, they've created clothing for people who go to the gym, work out, got fairly muscular builds, and their clothing, such as like muscle fit clothing, but it's very, very high quality. So they're kind of solving a problem for people who maybe don't typically have a great fit of regular clothing because they're more muscular, or they have different body types. So these guys have created this whole brand specifically for athletes who are wanting to kind of look smart. For example, they've got loads of different workwear clothing, things like this. So it's more premium, smart clothing for people with a very specific body type. And this, again, is a great way of solving a specific problem with your product. They're not just promoting t-shirts. They're not just promoting plain tops with different designs. They are actually promoting a product that solves a specific problem for a very specific demographic. So they can stand out against all the other t-shirt brands. Like if I'm someone who works out, let's say I have, massive arms, whatever. If I'm therefore browsing t-shirts and I see just like regular run-of-the-mill t-shirts, or I see something like this, I'm going to be much more likely to buy something like this. Okay. So for people who fit their demographic, this is going to be something that's very, very effective. The second point, and it kind of feeds into that first one, is your product has an edge. So you need to be able to compete. I speak to a lot of different brands and we get calls booked through for our agency, and I take calls with people and I'm auditing their stores, and sometimes they're just promoting products that you could just buy for cheaper on Amazon. So it's going to be, it would actually just be better to buy the product on Amazon. Like the delivery time is going to be quicker. I already trust the brand. I know that I can just get a refund if there's a problem. And it's just a lot more simplistic for me to go and do that. Now, what you need something that can compete against that. So if you're selling like a run-of-the-mill product that I can just easily go on Amazon and buy, you're not going to be able to compete and acquire me as a customer, because you might even create the demand, like you might create the intent. For example, if I see a really cool product and I'm like, okay, that looks cool, it looks like I can get it on Amazon, I might just search it up on Amazon and buy it from a different brand. So you've paid money with your advertising to create like intent for me as a customer, but I just go on Amazon and execute that intent. So you need to have a product that can compete that's different. So I'll show a few examples again of brands that I think are different and can compete, and kind of show the way that they're doing that. So the first one is Whoop. So this is a company that sells an activity tracker. Now, yes, you can go on Amazon and buy a very cheap activity tracker, but the truth is you're not going to find anything like this directly on Amazon. So this is a very unique product. There are competitors like the Aura Ring, and essentially, despite there being like one or two competitors, obviously like Fitbit and Apple Watch, have something similar that they kind of have inside their device, but it's not comparable to Whoop, and they have their very own kind of unique approach to this. So they're selling, it's for athletes, it's for people who are really interested in fitness, recovery, their sleep tracking, all of this sort of stuff. It's a great company, and they have a very unique product that you can't buy anywhere else. So when they're marketing to you, when you take that customer journey, you're taking it with them. Okay, very rarely would someone go and be able to find a really comparable product on just Amazon or just by searching up. The other kind of example that's a little bit more in line with the skincare, hair care brands that we're talking about is one of our clients called Salt Grooming. These guys have a very unique product. So they sell a product called Hybrid Hair. It's the kind of world's first clay wax hybrid. So again, the mechanism of action is different. It's not just a generic hair care brand. Sure, I can go on Amazon and just buy some like hair gel, but it's not going to have the same properties as this one in terms of ingredients. The actual product itself is something different. So the way that the product is working is different, and therefore it's introducing kind of a new reason why this might be better for me and might kind of fulfill my hairstyling needs better than just a generic hair care product off of like Boots or Amazon or something. So to summarize, your product needs to have something that it can compete on. If it is the same as many other solutions out there and it's just another anti-aging cream, which is just another anti-aging oil, it's not going to compete. It's not going to work. So there needs to be a reason why your product is better than other people's. Why should someone become a customer of your brand? They have so much choice online at the moment, so much choice. So we need to show people why your brand is the brand that they need to connect with and purchase through. The next one is price. So we promoted brands where essentially the price is just outside of what the market's prepared to pay. Now, you can also have the inverse of this, where the product is very, very cheap and it doesn't really come with any trust. So like if you're just promoting something that's so cheap compared to everything else, people are going to wonder why. And also you're going to really hurt your profit margins, which I'm going to get into later. So pricing is important. We want to have the highest price possible that the market's prepared to pay, but it needs to be something that the market is prepared to pay. So we had a skincare brand that we worked with once, and their price was just so far outside of what every other comparable product was selling for. And this was because their margins were quite low. They had a very unique mechanism of action in the product. So the way the product actually was applied to the skin was something very different. It wasn't just a normal like serum or oil. It was you had a very kind of unique approach, which was very cool. And that was the hook for the brand. But the problem was the actual product itself was something you could buy the same thing in a different kind of form factor for a fraction of the price. So it just didn't compete ultimately. And because of that, it was priced outside the market and didn't work. Secondly, we've done price testing for our own brands. So we have a skincare brand selling organic skin oils that solve specific problems. And we've done price testing. So we've done things like free shipping and handling, but the price is slightly higher. We've done slightly lower price plus paid shipping and handling. And we personally saw that a slightly lower price with paid shipping and handling was actually more effective. We also bumped the price up, and it's really interesting. Going just from like £38 to £46, that had a really significant impact on CPA. So although our price had only gone up by a few percent, our CPA went up by like 50%. So the ratio between how much it was costing us to acquire a customer versus how much absolute profit we'd improved by on the product, it actually didn't make any sense. And because we were using paid media to acquire customers, the metrics, the ratios went off. So instead, it was actually more profitable for us to sell the product at a lower price and make less absolute profit, if you like, but the CPA was reduced so much that we were making profit versus losing money. So that's just an example of how pricing is really important. I would highly recommend doing price testing. Don't be afraid to adjust the price of your products strategically. Now, obviously, if you're very established, this can be tricky to do. However, if you're a newer brand and you haven't found that sweet spot in pricing yet, this is definitely something that I would recommend. Another way that you can do price testing if you are established, and obviously it puts more strain on the logistics, is to have different options of the product, different sizes. So let's say you are selling a product that is like a serum or, for example, like a hair oil or something. You can have different sizes of the product, which gives people different options to transact at different price points. You can sell larger bottles, smaller bottles, same type of concept there. This is something that I would definitely recommend doing if you can. Obviously, that would require you to, again, have different packaging, have different logistics. Like there's a lot of costs that go into that. However, it is something that you could explore doing if you're willing to kind of invest in that side of things. So I want to get into two other points. Now, these are more from a brand perspective. These are less like what a customer is going to see, but these also make a huge difference between products that are successful with paid media and products that are not successful. So one is high margins. You kind of need to have like a 60 to 80% margin to allow for that customer acquisition cost and still make profit. If your margin's like 40, 30%, we just haven't really seen that be profitable. So 9 times out of 10, if a brand comes to us and they've got like a 10%, 20%, 30% profit margin, in the past, we have taken on some of those brands and we've tested it to see, okay, what is the customer acquisition cost? Can we make this work? The truth is, pretty much always, it doesn't play out successfully when the profit margin is that low, especially if you're dealing with an item that is like under £100. Because if you've got like a £50 product and you've got a 10% profit margin, you're dealing with £5 of margin. That's just not, you're not going to acquire customers for £5 using paid media for a £50 product. It's not going to happen. So you're going to lose money. Now, if you have a very, very high customer return rate and you have a very strong LTV on that customer, then yes, you can make it work. Maybe your LTV is like 500 or £1,000. In that example, yes, you can make it work because you could lose money so significantly on the front end and you'd be making it up in your LTV. However, if you're a smaller brand and you can't front that cash flow initially to buy the customers and then allow them to mature into profit over time, or if you just don't have that sort of crazy LTV to initial sort of customer AOV ratio, then you're going to need to have a higher profit margin. So the brands where we have the most success, their profit margins are in excess of 60%. It's more like 70 to 80%. So it's really, really important. The final point is customer return rate. So you need to have a strong lifetime customer value, LTV, and you can get that obviously by the customers coming back and buying again. This comes down to basically having a good product. So this one is not a marketing play as such. It is how good is your product and are people coming back and buying it again? So of course, there's things we can do to improve that from a marketing point of view. So we can send emails, we can add people to flows after they purchase where they then get follow-ups. They're asked to recommend products to their friends, leave reviews. All these things are going to help, of course. Also buy the product again, kind of at the cadence where the product would likely be running out. So if it typically lasts like a month, day 20, day 30, we should be emailing them, getting them to buy again. Running retargeting ads to people that have purchased if you've got a large enough customer base, or at least not excluding those purchases after a set period of time. So maybe like we exclude them for the first 15, 30 days. Then we're getting people back in who have purchased, who are going to likely see the ads again so that we can get them to make a second purchase. These are all things we can do from a marketing point of view. But fundamentally, if the product isn't good, no one's going to buy it again, or very few people are going to buy it again. So you need to make sure the product itself stands up and is very, very good. So that's a kind of a less marketing point, but it's very essential because just think about it. If you can acquire a customer at break even or a loss on day one, and you know that that customer is so valuable because they come back and buy again and again and again, you can do that all day long and you can make money over the lifetime value of the customer. A lot of brands that are selling like skincare, hair care, they're not going to make much profit by the time you've paid all your marketing costs, the labor involved in that. So like an agency or an internal staff member, you paid all of your fulfillment, everything. It's going to be very hard to make a considerable amount of profit on a £40, £20, £30 average order value product with paid media as that customer acquisition source. So of course it can happen, and it depends again how well positioned your brand is and what you're selling. But fundamentally, a lot of brands are not going to be making money on the front end. They're going to be making money when that customer buys again and again and again. So it's really important to have that. And brands that know that can be a lot more confident at customer acquisition. Okay, so how much difference does the product make to your CPA? So your customer acquisition cost, how much difference does it make? Truth is, it makes a lot. So I'm going to show you something here. So this is for a brand that we own. I think I've shared this on other videos. You can see here we have 3 campaigns, each represent a product that we were testing. So when we purchased this skincare brand from the previous owners, we inherited stock for 3 different products. They're all skin oils, but one of them was a standout winner and 2 of them were not profitable at all. So just to show you this in kind of a real life example, the Facebook ad structure was the same. The concept testing roadmap was the same. Everything here was the same. We didn't run any of these campaigns differently. We just did the same thing we do for all of our clients for this brand 3 different times for the 3 different products. And you can see here, product number 1 spent like £627 and it didn't get any sales. I think it actually got 1 sale, but it didn't track. Then the next one, we spent about £1,000, 1,100 for 6 purchases. So again, pretty bad. And just for reference, the AOV on this product, on the first order at the time was like £38, okay, on this first product. So we lost like a lot of money on these 2. But I'll get to this in a moment. We got some definitive outcomes. We knew for sure that we didn't have to go back and retest this because we'd done it. We spent enough to be confident. The final product, we spent $15,816 on, and our purchase cost tracked was £45. Again, it was actually lower than this, and we did things like price testing to increase the price of the product from the £38 upwards. And obviously you have the LTV, subscription models, all of these sort of things. So we were actually above break even, including cost of goods sold and ad spend. At the kind of end of this, the product ended up selling out, so we're currently in the restocking phase. But we got to the point where we were above break even with all costs involved, apart from labor, on that first purchase, which means that all the repeat customers are making us money. So we're acquiring customers essentially for free on the front end. It's a really kind of good example to show you just how much difference a product can make. And we see this in loads of different industries. Events is another one we see this in. The quality of the event, the acts that are going to the event. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but things like that, that's essentially the product for an events business. So we see a huge difference in CPA depending on how good the event basically is, as to whether or not we're acquiring ticket sales at a very low cost or very, very high cost. And the differences can be crazy. So again, 3 products. Product 1 had a £45 CPA. Product 2 had a £195. Product 3 had a £627 CPA. They're all the same product. They all do the same thing. When I say they're the same product, I mean the mechanism of action is the same. They're targeting slightly different subsections of the industry. They solve slightly different problems. Product 3 is the least competitive. Okay, what I mean by that is, as in the product that we have is the least competitive against its competition. So it's a very generic product in the sense that you could buy one of these products from any store essentially, and it's going to be a variation of the same thing. There's nothing unique about it. Product 2, I would say, kind of falls into that same category. It's solving a problem that really has been solved the same way for a very, very long time by a lot better and bigger brands than us. So we just couldn't compete. You know what I mean? It's just not, we didn't bring anything new to the marketplace. We were just trying to sell the same thing to the same people, except we didn't have, thousands of reviews and tons of PR about it and a massive kind of budget to push it, and then celebrity endorsements and everything else. So we just didn't have the kind of backing to really push that. Product 1, we were able to compete a lot more on because 1, there isn't as many brands marketing towards that industry. The solutions that are solving that skin concern are mostly chemical, and ours is an organic, natural product. So we were able to be a little bit more kind of targeted, and we were able to solve a problem in a slightly different way for people who obviously cared more about putting organic skincare on their skin versus like a chemical product. And that's why we were able to compete. So the demand was there. The demand's super strong. We found our niche. We could compete. And therefore, we were able to carve out a section of the marketplace there. So which product should you promote? Now, this is, again, a really important piece. So when you have your own brand and you're looking at which products, you want to do a few things. You want to test to get definitive outcomes. So in that example above where I kind of went into how much we spent, you can see we spent quite a bit. We lost quite a lot of money. It was a little bit painful just to find out definitively, did that product work or not? And we tested multiple different creative concepts. We really went to town to see, okay, can we get this thing to work or not? And the truth is, for 2 of them, we couldn't. For 1 of them, we definitely could. Now, I was happy to do that. Obviously, it was our own money, so it's a lot easier to kind of make that decision yourself. But I would encourage you to make decisions where you're able to get definitive outcomes, because if you spend a little in a lot of places, what you're going to do is you're going to get loads of false positives, and you're not going to actually find out what truly works and what truly doesn't work. So I would say it's better to kind of overspend a little bit when you're marketing to find out, a high confidence decision. What you don't want is like that kind of lingering in the back of your mind. Oh, should we go back to that product? Should we go back to this? Should we do this? Should we do this? You want to know, did it work? Did it not work? And that's why I would recommend spending enough so you get those definitive answers. So when you're actually promoting these different products, there's a few stats you want to monitor. So if you're promoting different ones, you want to look at what is your CPA? How much is it costing you to acquire a customer? And also your average order value, because a marginally higher customer acquisition cost for a significantly higher average order value is going to make more sense to your brand. So again, that's something you want to look at. You also want to look at the margin on your products. So, again, if you're promoting 3 different products, one has an 80% margin, one has a 40%, probably the 80% margin product is going to be better 9 times out of 10 if it can compete and stack up in the same way as the other ones that you're promoting. You also want to look at LTV. And the LTV is going to vary by customer journey. So what I mean by this is if someone buys product 1, their lifetime value might be different to someone that buys product 2 or product 3. It does depend how different the products are. If they're just variations of the same thing, that's less likely to happen. But different customer journeys and different start points in the customer journey will have different lifetime customer values. Now, what you probably want to do here is this is not so actionable at first. So again, if you're not spending much and you don't have a lot of data, that's not going to be very actionable. It's something to monitor over time. And if you have a larger budget and you are promoting maybe 2 or 3 different products because both are working well, then it's something to monitor over time. But it's just a note that I wanted to put there. So finally, before I end this video, I just want to talk again a little bit about margins and just show you an example with kind of ad spend baked into this as to how important this can be. So here you can see profit margin. So this would be 70%. I've just done some ad spend at 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, and 500. Okay, so this could be like your monthly ad spend. This could be your return based on, again, we can play around these numbers as I'm going through this, but I've just put 1.7 times ROAS, which gives you a cash collected. So let's just run through this first number again, because I want to kind of show you how it works. So with a 70% profit margin, spending 10 grand a month on ads with a 1.7 return on ad spend, which again, should be quite achievable for the majority of brands. Cash collected would be 17 grand. Your cost of goods sold, again, if you have a 70% margin, would be 5,100, meaning your net on your first sale, you're netting 1,900, okay, after ad spend and cost of goods sold. That's not including any labor, marketing agency costs, anything like that. Then if your LTV, so like again, for the kind of examples I've given, to sort of industry standard customer return rate, it's like a 1.5x. Some brands we work with, it's much higher. Some brands it's a bit lower. But again, I'm just using an average here of 1.5 times. So that's your customer comes back and buys on average 1.5 times. Now, that would give you a £25,000 lifetime customer value. So you can see here that's just gone up by 1.5 basically, which gives you a net LTV, because again, we have to also multiply your cost of goods sold by 1.5 as well. So the formula here kind of looks like this, essentially. So we're just taking the 1.5 times AOV, and we're then just minusing the cost of goods sold times 1.5, because again, you've obviously got to fulfill on those orders as well, and minusing your ad spend, which is a constant that stayed the same. So your net on LTV becomes a £7,850 profit off the back of spending 10 grand. So total profit excluding ad spend is 17,850. So that's literally just going to be your LTV minus cost of goods sold. And that's going to give you, if you kind of look at your ad spend versus your profit there, it's giving you a 1.79 lifetime value to customer acquisition cost. So again, these numbers can be improved. However, I just wanted to show you how this could work with a lower return on ad spend. So looking here, if you had a £50,000 ad spend per month with a 70% profit margin and a 1.7 times return on ad spend, you'd be initially collecting 85 grand. Cost of goods would be 25. Your net would be 9.5. Then the LTV takes it to 127. The net LTV is basically 40 grand. And you're looking again, sort of the numbers stay the same really in terms of the LTV to customer acquisition cost ratio. But you can see the profit over here. This is really the one to look at, because this is net of ad spend as well. So this gives you a pretty good example here of what you're sort of making after all of the costs associated with it. Now, just look at the difference here. If I make this like a 0.4, okay, you can see basically everything here you're losing quite a bit of money on the first sale. Okay, so you're negative. Then sure, over time, you're making money, but like look at you're spending 20 grand a month and you're netting 400 based on, again, this LTV number. So all of these are dynamic numbers that can change specifically to your brand. But you can just see here how little money you're making comparatively just by dropping that profit margin. Obviously, if you're achieving like a 3 times ROAS, it's then going to look a lot healthier. So that's why these numbers are dynamic. But the chances of achieving like a 3x ROAS, depending again on your product, your industry, if in like hair care, skincare, beauty space, these are very competitive industries, and a lot of brands are prepared to achieve a lower ROAS, meaning they can outspend you on the front end because they're very well funded and they're able to achieve the lifetime customer value and make their money that way. So they're not necessarily having to hit a 3x ROAS. Maybe they're on like literally, like I said, on 1.7 or like a 1.6, for example, which means you're losing money at 0.4, but you had an 80% profit margin. You can see how you're actually making money, okay, even at a 1.6 times ROAS. So the higher the profit margin, the lower your ROAS needs to be, meaning the more you can spend, the more aggressive you can be, the more you can outspend your competition, even when things aren't going amazing in terms of the ad spend and the returns that you're getting from that. And it's a more realistic approach. Like if your business can only function at like a 3, 4, 5 times ROAS, depending on the industry, depending on what you're selling and the margins, the AOV and things, it's going to be very hard to achieve that. Whereas if you are able to have a fairly low, the lower that ROAS number can be, where you still make money on like the first sale and you still net a high LTV afterwards, the better your business is going to perform. And ultimately, the easier it's going to be to compete and make more money. So I just wanted to show you that an example because I think it's really important. So look, with that said, that's kind of all I want to share in this video. So I'm going to wrap it up here, but please like and subscribe, drop a comment with any questions you have. I run a marketing agency. We work with brands of all different types in the e-com space. So again, hair care, beauty brands. We also work with a couple of other different industries in terms of e-commerce, so direct to consumer sales. If you're interested in working with me, there's a link in the top of the description where you can book a call. There's also a link to our website where you can go through and look at our case studies, watch our video testimonials, just make sure that what we offer is something you'd be interested in. And if it is, book a call and I can see if we can help. Thanks very much.